So Erik Ten Hag finally sacked by Manchester United. Obviously, long time coming. This is a long time coming. I've made a few previous videos about I think that he should have been gone a long time ago. And finally, that button has been pressed. Ten Hag no longer the manager of Manchester United. Rúben will become the interim. And it looks like we're already working on the next candidate, which potentially could be Rúben Amorim. But as for Ten Hag, look, this is a manager that when he first came in, I thought he did very well that first season. I think he had some new ideas, and I liked seeing a coach with new ideas because obviously we had just had Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who was another manager that was out of his depth and didn't know what he was doing. So first season, I kind of, even though I saw a lot of stubbornness from Ten Hag, even though I saw a lot of decisions that I didn't necessarily agree with, he got us to third place. He got us in that Champions League. And, he had to deal with a lot of things behind the scenes. So I kind of gave him that first season. And of course, we won a trophy. The second season, I was pretty much done with Ten Hag. And I was one of those people that, he won the FA Cup, but I would have liked to see him sacked at the end of last season. I thought his decisions were awful. I thought he would completely contradicted himself numerous times. One second he was playing his players, next second he was playing players that he wanted to get rid of. And I just think that we had no real identity under Ten Hag. I think he was a manager that if you looked at the Ajax style of play, you really saw good passing, progressive play, press from the front. And really, even leading into this season, and obviously so far of what we've seen this season, you didn't really see anything. There was no patterns of play. He almost doesn't like that type of player anymore. And he's kind of just reverted to guys that, just basically run with their head down. Guys like Rashford and Garnacho. So, we don't have a style. I think we would just, you're getting beaten 3-0 at home by Tottenham. And even just some of his comments, like we draw against Porto and we draw against Fenerbahce in the Europa League. Teams that are not great, to be honest. And FC20, for example. And he's just saying, they're good results and, it shows we're difficult to beat. This is just a manager that was just out of his depth and not good enough for the club. He was not good enough for Manchester United. And he won a couple of trophies while he was here. But let's be honest, Casemiro won us that League Cup. And even in the FA Cup, Coventry were a couple of minutes of knocking us out in that semi-final. And really, it was great to win it, but Man City didn't really turn up in that final. I think they were just tired. Man City were a team that win Premier Leagues and get to Champions League semi-finals and finals. So I think Man City were just tired and they just didn't turn up in that final. Obviously, credit to the team for winning, but I really think that was circumstantial. When it's a 38-game Premier League season and you finish 8th, and you've had 9 games this season and you're in 14th, that means a lot more than a one-off game. So I think it was absolutely the right time to go. He's a manager that, I just didn't like at the end. I didn't like anything about him. And he's really left us in a bad place because, obviously on the flip side of the coin, okay, we get rid of the manager, but now we're stuck with these players. And I know there's links to obviously Rúben Amorim, but the difficult thing is now he's coming quarter of the way into the season and he's got to deal with these players. And I look at that Manchester United squad and honestly, 90% of that team and those players, they're rubbish. This Manchester United squad is awful. There's not really many players to work with. And, he's coming, if he does become the new Manchester United manager, he's got to work with guys like Garnacho. He's got to work with guys like Rashford, Bruno Fernandes. He's really got to get a tune out of these players, Xerxes and Højlund. So, these are players that I don't think are ever going to be good enough for Manchester United under any manager. So not only is, he coming into a bad situation, now the fact that we didn't sack Ten Hag at the end of last season, none of these players are his players. And who can you really work with? I think Casemiro has got 1 or 2 seasons left in him. And it was quite ironic, how much the previous manager disrespected Casemiro. It's actually quite ironic and quite funny that in the last game under Ten Hag, Casemiro scored and was the man of the match. And once again, he was pretty much the only reason you won that League Cup. So the irony of you getting sacked when he goes and does that, the first thing I would employ a new manager to do is get that captain's armband off of Bruno Fernandes and just give it to Casemiro right away. So I think that's a player you can work with. I think De Ligt, I have not been very impressed with him, but I think De Ligt is someone you can work with, get out the mistakes of his game. I think there is potential there. Mazraoui, I think, got some potential. Martinez, I would give him a chance. Onana, I think there's some potential. Delot, absolutely not. I think it's time for Delot to go. And Amorim, I know, he comes from Sporting. I know he's obviously Portuguese. I really hope that means that he doesn't work with guys like Bruno and Delot. These are guys not good enough for Manchester United. Obviously, Rúben will probably manage the next game or so. It looks like Manchester United are being progressive in getting a new manager. Already working on the paperwork, so hopefully that gets finalized soon. But yeah, obviously the big news today, Ten Hag has been sacked and has left his position as Manchester United manager with immediate effect. And that is obviously something that I'm very happy about. The Ten Hag era is over and it is time for a new era for Manchester United.